Hi, my name is Benjamin. Welcome to episode 7 of our video series Scaling from Within. And today I want to talk about the coordination gap. So, when you run a business, what your business does is actually coordinating work that would otherwise be not coordinated or done by individual people, right? So, you coordinate work. That is what your organization does to produce greater value than each of the individual parts could. So, coordinating work is a very, very central thing that you as a founder or business owner do. And in theory and very basic, you have three different ways of doing this. One is informal communication. So everything that your team discusses among themselves, like these little decisions they make, this is counted as informal communication. So this is one part how work is being coordinated. It's just one colleague asking another colleague, help me with this and that, okay? Secondly, you have standardization. So this is something that coordinates your work. Best example might be a standard operating procedure where you define those are the steps that need to happen in order to send out a shipment to a client. So there's clear role descriptions. Everybody knows what they're doing. So you define or you coordinate the single steps in this process by standardization. And last but not least, classical hierarchy, formal hierarchies, okay, or responsibilities. So pretty much yourself or a hired manager who is actually telling your team who is supposed to be doing what. Okay, so those are the three basic coordinating mechanisms you have. So let's say you have this coordinating demand by your current business revenue, right? So you run at a, 150, 200, 300,000 or $1 million in revenue, and your company is set up well, right? You make use of all of those three coordinating mechanisms, and you will have all of those three. So now if you start to grow, your company grows, things are getting more complex, you add new tasks. So what happens is that your new coordinating need is actually bigger, right? And what you can see is that your current level of coordinating mechanisms, this one here, is not enough anymore. So you create a what I call a coordinating gap. All right, so you want to close this gap, and now it's probably pretty obvious. You have all those three different ways of closing it, right? So first thing you could do is, and this is a thing that is very common for a growing company, you bring in new hierarchy positions, right? So you hire a manager. So let's say you had a team. Let's stick to the fulfillment team. They were packing orders and sending them out, and now you can't take care of it anymore because you have to look after other parts of the business as well. So you might hire a fulfillment or logistics manager. Okay, so this is the way of using hierarchy to close the coordination gap. Then secondly, you might as well, if your tasks are very repetitive, very clear, unambiguous, you might want to use standardization to close the coordination gap. So this would mean you define very detailed standard operating procedures that haven't been in place before. You use workflow software to structure or streamline processes as they are being performed. All those other things that actually standardize work that's being performed and that make it unnecessary that somebody approves or looks into the work that's being done, but it's just standardized. So this is the second mechanism that you have. And then lastly, to close that gap, you can also enhance autonomy or improve this informal communication. And this is probably the hardest way. It's very much about what is your team capable of, what is the self-efficacy of everybody involved, are they able to find solutions to problems themselves. But there's a lot of things you can do here. You want to encourage them to make their own decisions. You want to be very understanding if mistakes are being made that are being made for the first time, because this is what happens if people enter new fields of work that they haven't worked in before. So all of those things count as you increase informal communication, you improve informal communication and the autonomy that your team actually has and uses. So those are the three basic things you can do to close this coordination gap. You can increase hierarchy, bring in a manager. You can standardize or automate. This is also a version of standardization, or you can improve informal communication. So interesting to hear what you are using in your growing company. Let us know in the comments or shoot us a message. And if you have questions about us, also get in touch. Thank you. My name is Benjamin.